Well, the goal is to get to the Premier League. You just called Lionel Messi a mento. You might as well smoke a joint and pop that on. Here we are.
Welcome to Football Shirt Paradise. How you
doing?
doing? Yeah, I like the contact on that. That was good.
That felt good.
Welcome to Classic Football Shirts Los Angeles. There's many stores around the world. We've got New York, Miami, London, Manchester. Here, this for me is the cherry on top. It is full of amazing shirts, and just look at it.
It's beautiful.
It's outrageous.
It's beautiful.
This is really simple. You're going to get $500 to spend on football shirts. If you go slightly over, we can have a conversation.
Okay.
You're going to pick out some shirts. We're going to talk about them. You're going to leave us some.
Okay.
Very, very simple.
Question. Should I look at the price tag before we go to ring it up, or should I just pick out the ones I like and then it is what it is?
Pick up the ones you like and we'll go from there. But say you were shopping online, if you use the code AWAYDAYS at checkout, you'd save 10%, which is amazing.
Okay. If you use the code AWAYDAYS, I heard that you save 10%. That's
Simple.
what I heard. That's what I got out of that. Am I going to get 10% off today?
I can give you 10% off.
See, you don't know unless you ask.
You have to ask. That's the thing. I want to talk about the start of you.
Okay.
Your first memories of the sport.
Wow. Actually, my first memories of the sport itself was in grade school and in high school, because I was terrible at everything and I tried to play every sport. As you know, especially like in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, or the 90s or whenever, early 2000s. You can't tell how old I am based on...
35?
Right. There you go, 35, exactly. So that would be me in like the 90s in grade school? Sure. Either way, soccer, as I'll refer to it because we are in the United States, not as big as some of the other sports, but I wasn't big enough to play football. I sucked at basketball, wasn't big enough to play basketball, wasn't good, had no hand-eye coordination, so no baseball, so soccer was a possibility. Unfortunately, I was also terrible at that. So my experience with football has always been me trying my best, not getting picked for any teams, and then having a tremendous amount of anger towards my more athletic friends. That's my first memory of soccer.
Would it be safe to say before this whole whirlwind you've gone into, you were a little bit cynical of the sport?
I would say, look, I've always loved sports. I was just always terrible at it, which is why it pushed me into the theater programs, because I could find ways to do things I liked. It was also, I went to an all-boys school.
Yep.
So the girls schools needed boys to do their plays. So that's how I got into acting.
Okay.
But in my heart, I always wished that I was a better athlete. So I used to love the idea of playing soccer, but I was just never very good at it. So then growing up, our high school team actually had a really good soccer team.
Okay.
So I would go to the matches, and that was always really, really fun. And even since then, my high school in Philadelphia has since produced a number of like world-class footballers.
Really?
Including, probably the number one player in the United States was a kid named Sullivan. You can look that up.
And we're talking about like the 90s when you obviously were in high school, in school yourself.
Grade school, I was in school,
yeah,
sure.
grade school. For example, this is one of the most iconic shirts of all time. This is Borussia Dortmund from the 90s. It looks like a highlighter.
Yeah.
But it's so well known in the football shirt collecting space. Most football shirt collectors, one of the things they say is you have to have a retro Dortmund kit. Because as a fans club, people love them. They're a very hipster club. Pretty much universally liked, other than by their rivals, Schalke. But everyone pretty much in the football community loves Dortmund. They've got this thing called the yellow wall, which you might have heard
And it's
of.
this kind of yellow?
So their yellow is more traditionally yellow. This is a very different one for the 90s. I don't know why this was the design choice, but it's stuck now and people love it.
So I've heard you use the word cynical a number of times
I'm British, so
already.
it's basically in my DNA.
I'm going to say I'm quite cynical about this particular highlight color. It looks like a highlight pen. No offense to anybody who's into this, not for me. I like maybe a more traditional yellow. Do they have?
They will have yellow. Well, we're going to go for traditional.
That doesn't speak to me.
Not for Dortmund necessarily, but we've got some traditionally yellow Brazil kits, for example.
Wow, yeah, that's beautiful.
Everyone knows how important Brazil is to football.
Yes.
Do you know anything about any Brazilian players at all?
Well, yeah. So growing up, not knowing a ton about football, there were certain names that you just knew. Obviously, Pelé was the biggest, and so even knowing very little about football, you would always hear about Pele. So that was basically my inroad. And in fact, when I was a kid, he would be one of the only footballers that I would know well into the late 80s or 90s. Even like Maradona, who eventually became my favorite player, only became my favorite player like 10 years ago. Because I started going back and watching some of his old matches.
That must be so enjoyable for you now as a new fan to the sport, because you've got this really unique outlook from a US perspective. Everyone comes in and they watch the Premier League.
Yeah.
Whereas you were like, I'm going National League. So your perspective of the sport must be, you've got like a real football purist view on the sport now.
People ask me, they'll ask me questions about, Man City or Man United, or what do I think about, Leeds this year, and I'm like, I've never watched one of those.
Who's
games.
asking you about Leeds?
I don't, well, yeah, I've heard.
I want to talk to you about, come down here, we're going to look at Barcelona here. So, obviously, very familiar with this name on the back.
Of course.
Just, I feel like him being in this country is huge for the sport. It's got, you had Ted Lasso, then you had Welcome to Wrexham, then you had Messi joining Miami, and then you've got the World Cup here next year. US soccer has never been in a better position. Yeah,
this is the best time to be in and around football in the United States because of all the reasons you just said. And I have a friend who owns, he's a part of an ownership group of a very large English club, we shall say, in a certain Premier League. And they did some market research in the US, and they were just trying to figure out just brand awareness. And so they went into the middle of the country and they did this massive study, and he told me this, and he said he got the data and he wanted to jump out the window when he got it, because he found out that his club was somewhere like 9th or 12th on the list of American awareness. Number 2 was Manchester United, which is, of course, the biggest and most famous club in the world, give or take. Number 3 was Wrexham. Number 1 was AFC Richmond, which is the team on Ted Lasso. And he said he wanted to jump out a window, and by the way, rightfully so, but it shows you about American interest in the sport. It's not that we're so cynical that we only care about TV shows, it's just we have to know the right story.
Yeah, it has to be a story.
We have to be told the right story, and so people connected with Ted Lasso. I think they connect with Welcome to Wrexham, and then they, obviously Manchester United has a storied history. But when people like Lionel Messi come to the United States, just like David Beckham came to the United States, just like Pele came to the United States. But I think in both of those cases, the states were being primed, but they weren't really ready in the same way that they're ready now.
It's so ready now.
Yeah.
It feels like a ticking time bomb. It's like when you've just dropped the Mento and Coke.
Yeah.
It feels like it's about to go. It's the first time I think anyone has ever used that analogy to describe anything.
So just to be clear, you just called Lionel Messi a Mento.
Yeah, and
the United States is Coca-Cola. What's this one? This one's jumping out. What's going on here?
So this is the late 90s era Kappa Barcelona shirt. So before Cristiano Ronaldo, there was Ronaldo Nazario, who is, some people know him as Fat Ronaldo, the Brazilian striker.
Yes.
And he left Barcelona to play for Real Madrid, but in the Kappa era shirts, he played for Barcelona. And this shirt is very familiar with that name.
I feel like I see a lot of people that have the Messi kit, and this one feels, well, I also like a collar.
Okay, that's interesting. That is a thing. The collar debate is a huge thing in the football shirt community.
We kind of go back and forth. I like the look of both. Still, my favorite kit, in theory, maybe this is just because we had just watched the Beckham documentary, but that like mid-early 90s big billowy kind of look. Not unlike that, but it was just like a long sleeve, big billowy dress almost. Is almost so silly, and yet it looked really cool. So we tried to bring that back to Wrexham, but the manufacturer didn't even quite understand what we were going for, and they kind of refused.
Because football shirts became so aerodynamic now. It's all about performance rather than look. Whereas I think fans yearn for the 90s.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, well, nostalgia is such a huge, that's what this entire store is built on, right? Yeah, it's built on nostalgia. I gotta say, this one's speaking to me because of the ladies.
Okay.
Because of the collar. I'm gonna go with this one.
Whack down my arm.
Yes.
I'm your coat hanger.
Can I put it on your thumb? Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
You're a biter.
It's just tiny thumbs.
Well, no, it's a tiny thumbnail. Oh yeah, it's a tiny thumb. Oh gosh, I might go with this because it's Celtic. It's
Irish links.
It's got Irish links.
Yeah.
It's just a cool carling.
Yeah, I was at the Old Firm Derby the other day. Probably the most crazy game you can go to.
Yeah.
It was just nuts.
By crazy, I mean dangerous.
Dangerous,
Yeah.
but fun. What's the difference between US and UK sports fans?
Wow, man, I would say there's a lot more similarity than difference. However, I have noticed, and this was something that we're always wrestling with, is I never knew that you had to have a separation of fans. So
Yeah.
here, of course, we have lots of issues and problems. I'm not suggesting that American fans are very genteel as they are cheering on the Raiders or the Eagles. In fact,
In Philly, yeah.
we're very famous for not necessarily being that, but we still have a general population feel, and people kind of sit wherever they sit, and there's security, and really, when push comes to shove, it doesn't tend to turn violent. It's a little bit more of just like ribbing. With the obvious history in English football being a little bit different, it was just always so strange to me that we had to have whole sections of the racecourse that were empty.
Yeah.
My feeling is, and look, I don't know that we should be the ones experimenting with this, but I don't know. I feel like if you treat people a certain way, they're going to act a certain way.
Exactly this. I said the same. If you treat people like animals, they act like animals.
That's right.
Especially when you keep people sectioned off and behind rope and stuff like that. It seems, or like nets.
Yeah.
Like you treat them like animals. They're gonna behave like it.
So when I was a kid, the Eagles played at this stadium called Veterans Stadium, and it was famous for being like a terrible place where there was a lot of violence. And they also famous for, and this is true, they had a cell and an arraignment judge in the basement. So you would be immediately arrested, brought into holding, arraigned that day, and then either released on your own reconnaissance out to the street, or they would hold you in the cell overnight in the stadium. So one of my earliest memories of going to a football game is going to the American football game, is going to the bathroom, and it was packed. And I get up to the front of the line, and I realize I'm not peeing in a toilet or a urinal; it's a trash can. And guys were just peeing in sinks and trash cans because there weren't enough facilities. And then, which is really funny and fucked up. But then you wonder, well, then why are people acting like animals out there, but you're treating them like animals?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're saying you have to pee in trash cans, you're fueling them with alcohol, and then saying, just go have at it. I feel like there's a happy medium to be made to where we can compartmentalize, like hate each other for 90 minutes on the pitch,
Yeah.
and then go out to the pub and have a drink, because at the end of the day, it's just a game.
First of all, you probably answered it so many times. Why Wrexham?
Oh, wow. Well, I wanted to find a town that reminded me of the town that I grew up in and the people that I grew up with. And I knew that really what that meant was just a working class town somewhere in the world that valued football. Because, growing up in Philly, which is a working class town, my grandfather was a longshoreman, and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Phillies and the Sixers, but specifically the Philadelphia Eagles, are such a huge part of the identity of the city. And I knew, obviously, soccer, football, being the biggest sport in the world, that we could probably find a working class town who had that same ethos as Philadelphia, and I could recognize myself in them, and yet their football team might be twice as old as the Eagles, and that much more important to the culture, and that you could find a club that had generations of people whose hearts were broken, and that's where the community comes in, right? Like if you win year after year after year after year after year, and this is the dirty secret about sports that people don't even think about. When you win, or if you win year after year, people just get bored.
Exactly.
No one wants to see that.
You can't have the highs without the lows. And that's a beautiful thing. That's why you should never support a team because they win.
Yeah.
You support a team because it means something to you.
Yeah.
And it's the best and most rewarding thing ever when your team finally does win.
So then why Wrexham is, if we could find a town where that had been passed on generation after generation after generation, a heartbreak, and then also a town that had been left behind because of the nature of its industry and because of politics, and I knew if I could find a club like that in a town like that, that I could get people around the world through the right story to see themselves as well.
Yeah, and you said about heartbreak as well. Like, initially you guys failed to get promoted the first season.
Yeah.
Do you think that actually helped you in the long run?
Yeah, also, the plane ride home, after we lost that playoff game, I had to sort of bifurcate myself and compartmentalize. The supporter and chairman of the club was devastated. But the person that has to go in the editing room and tell the story, I realized, okay, here's the silver lining in this very dark and gray cloud. In an underdog story, you have to show loss.
Yeah.
Right? You have to show, oh wow, we almost got to the precipice, and then instead of transcending it, we fell off.
Yeah.
But there's always next season.
There is always next season. There's always more football to be played.
Yeah.
And you have changed, genuinely, like, this is not even being hyperbolic, you've changed the lives of the fans of Wrexham. Like, they were stuck in the doldrums for so long, and you've gave them joy.
We look at it the other way around, which is what we were able to do. We find this all the time with storytelling, is you're really just holding a mirror up to people, and it's just about the right lighting that you're putting on them. So if you see what we did with the show, we knew that to sell it, it would have to be us in the beginning. So you start with us, and then you quickly deviate from us, and you find that the true stars of the show are the people of the town and of the club. It's so funny now because people will say like, "Oh man, did you ever think that the townspeople would be the people that were real?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was always the point of it." But the way I think about it is, we're all yearning to see the best versions of ourselves, but we don't always see it. But if someone else can see it and put the spotlight on you and maybe light it a little bit differently and shoot it, and of course I'm talking metaphorically, that maybe you see yourself a little bit different. And that's what we're going for, which is like, look, at the end of the day, we didn't really change much. We came in and documented what was happening. Of course, we invested in the club and in the town, but I don't know how to run a football team.
Yeah.
We had to hire the right people to do that. I can't force the supporters to come to the games. All we can do is market it. And so really at the end of the day, the town and the experience has changed us way more than we could have possibly changed it ourselves.
What's the ceiling? Is there a ceiling? If you look at Luton Town got to the Premier League, Bournemouth are pushing for European football now.
Yeah.
Who are just as small, like population-wise as Wrexham, smaller, probably a smaller stadium even, and Bournemouth are pushing for European football this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where can Wrexham go?
Well, I mean, I think that's the beauty of the entire experience. Is like there is no ceiling because we're sort of writing the story as we go along. Right now, the way that the system is set up is the Premier League, at the very least. And we said from the very beginning, well, the goal is to get to the Premier League, and we'd have like all these cameras around us, and people would be laughing. I wasn't even offended. I couldn't understand why people were laughing. That's the way the system is set up.
That's the draw to English football.
That's it.
Anyone can get to the top.
That's right.
That's the point.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And so we kept doubling down and saying that's the goal. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's what we're going for. So, of course, our goal is to get to the Premier League, and then it's to win the Premier League, and then, like you said, you're in European football, and why not go out and be the best football team in the world?
Leicester City won a Premier League, got to a Champions League quarter-final. The whole point of the sport, if there's not hope for anyone, why am I bothered anymore?
Yeah.
Like, why? There's got to be one part of me that thinks Leeds United could win something one day, and if not, the sport is pointless to me.
Yes.
And that's why you choose football and the English pyramid specifically, or any pyramid that has promotion and relegation, right? To do that.
But the most important part is that you're not doing it alone, right?
Yeah.
You're doing it with the people that you're standing next to, that you're sitting next to, that your parents, your children, your grandchildren, your grandparents, your uncles, your aunts, your best friends, because otherwise it's meaningless.
Yeah.
So you're sharing that experience with those people.
Yeah.
That's what you really want. And you want the triumph just so you can turn to the person next to them and hug them, especially for men, especially for British men. Come on, guys, let's be f***ing honest. I mean, you gotta open your hearts a little bit more and express yourselves.
This is what I was going to talk to you about. It's often said that British men can only express their emotions through football. Is that something you think you've I think I'm definitely guilty of that. The last time I cried was when Leeds sacked Marcelo Bielsa, which is pathetic to say out loud, but that's the truth.
Oh, I don't think it's pathetic to say out loud. I think, look, there's a stiff upper lipness about the British that we have to admit single-handedly saved Western democracy and possibly the fucking world. So there's something to be really proud about waking up every day and saying, "F you, I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm not going to let anything get in my way, and I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get on with it. I'm going to stiff upper lip and keep pushing forward." And there is great value to that, and we can all admit that, of course. But that comes at a great cost. Can't you do both? Can't you both stand your ground and then say, but what are we trying to save here? At the end of the day, like, aren't we supposed to be opening up ourselves to the possibility of pain or getting hurt, or to help other people see a better version of themselves? And to do that, we have to open up our hearts. And if football is the key to doing that, yeah.
Long sleeve shirt. So the goalkeeper back in the day designed his own kits, and this is him driving a truck on the front of his football shirt.
And how was the success? Like, did people love this, or did people?
It's a classic kit. These are now being reissued because it's so iconic. It is.
There you go.
Football shirt design, and also in the 90s, goalkeeper shirts were basically made to be as crazy as possible because they were designed to put off the striker when they ran for on goal.
That's amazing.
And you can't really do that anymore, but they should.
And so, each individual keeper given license to make whatever
This
they
guy
wanted?
was just crazy.
That's
like
awesome.
Absolutely insane.
So he would just wear it.
He would just wear it, and there was a couple of others he designed himself as well. Like he was just mental.
But having now worked in English football for as many years as we have, the amount of regulations and rules and things you have to, and bureaucratic process, this seems like the kind of thing that would get you fined on a game-by-game basis, right?
But back then in Argentina, Boca Juniors did not. They didn't mind.
See, like but those are parts of the story that are so great.
Yeah.
That's the famous Air Jordans, like he wasn't allowed to wear the sneakers, so Phil Knight found out, well, what's the fine?
Yeah.
And it was whatever it was, $15,000 a game. He's like, I'll pay that. And make sure the press knows I'll pay it, because that's how important it is that Michael wears the sneakers that he wants.
And it's extra PR as well.
It's the best PR. So I don't know, I love it. I would never wear that, but maybe I would.
You try it on.
I mean, I'll try it on. We'll take some mushrooms. I mean,
We're in LA.
marijuana is illegal in LA, so might as well smoke a joint and pop that on. What's this one?
That's Palermo. So a team in Italy. They're known as they've had some really iconic players. And they had Paulo Dybala went to play for Argentina, won a World Cup, and his strike partner was a guy called Kyle Lafferty, who was the Northern Irish national team striker. So it's one of the weirdest strike force duos ever. Like thinking of career trajectory stuff, and it just worked.
I like the pink.
Arm.
Yeah, let's put it on the arm.
Get the Palermo pink on my arm. How do you think jersey culture differentiates between the UK and the US? Like for us, we see this as our sneaker culture.
Yeah.
Like sneakers are a thing in the UK, but just like this is a thing here. It's not as big. Whereas people collect jerseys
not the same.
instead.
Yeah, not the same. It's people. Well, you go to any sporting event and people will be wearing the kits.
Yeah.
We don't call them kits. We call them jerseys.
Yeah.
But when and where I was talking to the Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie, who I love, and they had a famous Kelly green color back when I was a kid watching the team. My favorite teams growing up in the 80s and the 90s wore this Kelly green. And then they did a rebrand and discontinued it, and then it became a different color green. And then there was this call somewhere around like 8 or 9 years ago to bring back the Kelly green.
Okay.
And every time they do, and you should cut to it now because it is a beautiful, beautiful jersey, and I've got 4 different versions of it. And in fact, at the Super Bowl this year, I wore all Kelly green, and you see out in the stands 50% of the people wearing Kelly green because it evokes some nostalgia for the people there. So I asked Jeffrey, like, have you considered, because people love it so much, have you considered maybe just switching back to Kelly green? And he goes, well, no, that would ruin it. And of course it would, because the nostalgia is a huge part of it.
People wanting it. People want, and if you give people too much of something, they're like,
Right.
Okay.
And then it's not as special anymore. So either way, you will go to the games and you'll see people either wearing throwback or nostalgic versions of the jerseys, or they'll be wearing the jerseys, but walking around the streets, you'll notice people won't necessarily be wearing kits. Yeah.
And I want to speak about fun experiences now. We've got the US shirt here, there's a Mexico shirt here. Let's talk about your new journey in club ownership, Necaxa.
Yes.
How have you found that stuff? That is a fascinating story.
Well, I'm obsessed with football and fandom, but specifically the similarities and the differences in the way different cultures celebrate the sport. So anybody that's a football fan watches enough football to know that there are a lot of similarities, but some differences between Latin culture and English culture in terms of the way that the games are experienced.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to go and be a part of a Latin experience. And so Necaxa was just a club that, for us, had the same ethos and feeling of a Wrexham.
Yeah.
Where the system is a little bit different down there, but there are 5 teams that compete at the top.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is fighting for 6 and below. They even have an expression where they'll say, well, the team's in our league, and in our league, nuestra liga. And you're like, well, wait, I thought you guys are all in the same league. And they say, well, sorry, we're in the same division,
Yeah.
but we don't consider ourselves in the same league as them, which is fucked up.
That's fascinating. I guess,
Yes,
yeah.
because those top 5, 6 teams are so overcapitalized, and that the teams from 6 to 24, they can't compete. So they don't even bother. They try, but it just becomes so impossible.
So you're trying to help this club break through that glass ceiling?
That would be the idea. I mean, the idea is to suggest that that we belong there. I mean, that to me is the emotional journey, that you're shining the spotlight on people and saying, you've thought that there are this class of people or this class of team or this community or town that is out of your league, and we are here to say, hopefully put up a mirror in front of them and that light that I was talking about and say, you belong there, you belong in that league. They're no better than you, they're no stronger than you. They might just have a little bit more money, but that doesn't mean that you can't compete and be in that league.
I'm fascinated. My YouTube channel is called Away Days. It's all about going to different football games every week. I'd love to come out and see a game.
Come on out.
Okay, so basically, I want to give you 2 minutes to run around the store without me, pick out shirts you like, any you want to try on, bring over here, or any you think look absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
Give me your thoughts.
Okay.
Your 2 minutes starts now.
Go. I'm going to the Premier League Classics to see if anything. I found something in my peripheral on the way down that I'm going to get on the way back. But what's jumping out at me about these classics? I like this one.
You're in the 2XL section.
Oh, this is too big.
Come around to here.
I'll go with this one. It is a little tricky because
you've got club ties.
it used to be that we could say, well, you can have 2 teams, but the truth is, you cannot have 2 teams, especially this one. I have to say, this Chelsea, I don't know about the tires, but I just like the Chelsea emblem. Mm-hmm. And I'm friendly with the ownership group there. I'm sure, I don't know if a lot of people want to hear that, but it's true. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the one that caught my eye from across the room. Look at this. Look at this.
Okay, yeah, now we're talking.
Now we're talking. I mean, this instantly became my favorite one.
The Guinness sponsor in there as well. So this is a team in San Francisco.
Oh, really?
Yeah, San Francisco Glens, they call themselves. So they're just a USL team.
Wow.
Yeah, they also got there's a green version of it.
What? How did they get Guinness as a sponsor?
Guinness have been throwing around their IP a lot recently.
Well,
It's about that we're going to work.
Guinness, come throw it our way.
I was going to say, a Wrexham's Guinness-sponsored Wrexham shirt.
The front of our kit has become very expensive. Sorry, Guinness.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it would be, I don't know, maybe they can make a run for it.
It's got to be breaking a League One record, or a League Two National League record, the front of your kit. Like, I think it's not even close.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of where our revenue comes from. Just because we have the ability, that's been a part of the business plan from the beginning, was that we have the ability to spread the word.
We've got a lot of shirts there to try on. I think for
Yeah.
let's not get.
Let's not go with
let's get rid of these.
These guys are going to be our competitors in a couple of years. So.
Well, maybe next season if Tottenham keep going the way they are.
Could
they
be.
are awful.
I mean, talk about aerodynamic. This one might be a little small. I mean, who was this built for? What?
It looks good on the arms.
It does? This does not look like a football. This looks like Under Armour. I'm gonna have to pass on this, or maybe go for a larger size. That's true. It does feel aerodynamic. This I like.
That's a good look.
It's a little looser like yours is.
I like that.
I like a pink.
I like that you've also, you're a tuck and fold man. I like that.
This feels like, so it's got the, oh, you got the collar too?
Yeah, I think that's the best one so far.
Yeah.
That's a great fit. Fits great. No need to tuck and fold. And I also love the Barca. Yeah, the Barca wording on the collar is great. Kappa sleeves. I could see you out and about.
And this,
in that.
yeah, so in terms of like UK culture, I could put this on and walk around all day long.
People would
and
think
it
you look
be,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. Now you're saying if I walked around London with this, people would be like, that guy's cool?
I think so, if you styled it right, yeah. London's a very...
I feel like if I went to certain parts of town, I would get my ass kicked.
I think it looks good.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I actually think that's better than the Barca. I think this is more you
And
yours.
and Celtic, who are their main?
Rangers.
Yeah, Celtic and the Rangers.
Yeah.
Is it like Ireland where one's Catholic, one's Protestant?
One's Catholic, one's Protestant.
Which one's this?
This is the Catholics.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. This one's okay. This is sexy tight, as they say.
Sexy tight.
Oh, that's cool. Is that Roy Keane?
It's Roy Keane. Or yeah. Roy Keane.
I feel like that's just one of those names and personalities who like transcends the sports. I don't know that much about Roy Keane. I just know he's an asshole based on
How he played.
how he played, but in a
Stories
good way.
about football. The name of the back of my shirt, Alfie Haaland, is the dad of
His
Erling
dad.
Haaland,
Wow.
whose career was ended by a Roy Keane tackle. Yeah,
So
to
he
the
was
knee.
tough.
It was the tackle was payback. It was for an earlier challenge that Haaland had done on Keane. Keane went to him. Didn't mean to kill his career, obviously.
Right.
And obviously now Roy Keane was the basis for Roy Kent on Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I'll try that on. This was kind of like a funky fit, but maybe that was the look. Because I don't know if you want to tuck this
That
in.
does scream early 2000s, but I don't think it's as nice as the other ones because the sleeves go low. I say that as my ones are currently doing what they're doing. But I feel like the other ones were the Celtic and the Barca were like
Classic.
huge wins, and the Palermo. Would you believe this all came to dead on $500? Like, what are the chances of that? That's amazing.
I'm a fairly good businessman, it turns out.
Right, let's get these checked out.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank
I had
you.
a blast. Answered so far, but Sunny is my favourite TV show. And it's been so
You
great
saved it to
have
the
you on.
end.
Saved it to the end. You don't want to do it early. You don't go early. But I honestly love Sunny so much, and it's been an honour to have you on.
Well, I had a blast. Obviously, love the store, and now that I know that it's here, I can come back anytime.
Well, anyone that comes on, you get them to suggest someone else to come on. Any names come to mind?
I think you should have J.J. Watt.
Okay.
So for anybody who doesn't know J.J. Watt out there, he is an American football player, retired, probably one of, if not the greatest defensive players of all time, at least in the top three, and number one in his position. Incredible guy, a huge football supporter now with Burnley, and I don't know if he'd fit into any of these shirts. I don't know if you make a quadruple XL, but that could actually be kind of fun. I do have something for you.
For me?
Yeah. So
Okay. Good catch.
Thank you. I went to Birmingham earlier this year, and we lost.
But they're ridiculous for League One. That's
Yeah. There's all sorts of reasons and excuses. This is a Birmingham City kit, which they were kind enough to put my name on with Tom's number, as we all know, TB12. And I believe Tom signed it. And I couldn't find a trash can big enough to throw it into. So what I'd like to do is donate it back to you to do whatever you want
You
with
have
it.
it on the wall in here.
Sure. You could burn it. You could hang it up. You could do whatever. You could take a crap, wipe
That is
yourself with it.
amazing.
You don't have to
There
go
we go.
camping, something like that.
What a treat. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Well, that is amazing. And thank you very much to the viewers for watching this far. If you are new around here, please share, subscribe for more football show content and more away days. I've been Ellis. This has been Rob McElhenney. I'll see you very soon. Ciao, ciao. Bye.